Imagine a 10-year-old girl. She is a princess, living in a sprawling royal palace, expected to one day rule the largest empire on Earth. Yet in her daily life, she is entirely captive. Her vulnerabilities started when she was an infant. Her father caught a cold that quickly escalated, and he died when she was just 8 months old. Her mother, a German princess, was suddenly left isolated in England with little money, heavily in debt, and struggling to speak the language. Into this desperate situation stepped an ambitious royal official named John Conroy. He recognized that whoever controlled the young princess would eventually control the state. Together with her mother, Conroy designed a strict set of rules at Kensington Palace, expressly engineered to make the child completely dependent on them. Nighttime offered no escape. She shared a bedroom with her mother every single night. Books had to be explicitly approved. She was barred from speaking to other children. The physical restrictions were absolute. Even walking downstairs required an adult holding her hand. In an environment entirely populated by adults maneuvering for political leverage, she found affection in exactly one place, a small spaniel dog named Dash. He was the only creature who demanded nothing from her. Conroy's ultimate goal was to force her to sign a legal document making him her official advisor upon becoming queen. He pressured her relentlessly. Even when she fell deeply ill, he cornered her, demanding her signature. Despite her youth and isolation, she flatly refused. The Kensington system was designed to manufacture obedience. Instead, it forged an incredibly stubborn teenager with a fiercely guarded desire for absolute autonomy. On the morning of June 20th, 1837, the Archbishop of Canterbury arrived at Kensington Palace to inform the 18-year-old that the king had died. She was now Queen of England. Her first directive was to banish John Conroy from her presence permanently. Her second directive was intensely personal. She ordered her bed moved out of her mother's room. For the first time in 18 years, she slept alone. She stepped into a complex political arena dominated entirely by older men who doubted her capabilities. Yet she maintained strict control over her personal life. Because royal protocol forbade any man from proposing to a sovereign, she summoned her cousin, a serious young German prince named Albert, and asked him to marry her. Albert loved music, science, and philosophy. He quickly evolved from her husband into her closest confidant, an essential political advisor, and equal partner in managing the immense diplomatic weight of the state. Together, they championed rapid modernization. Their shared vision culminated in the Great Exhibition of 1851, an enormous international showcase of industrial machinery and cultural progress, hosted inside a sprawling glass and iron structure in London. Marrying Albert did not dilute the independence she had fought to achieve. Through their partnership, she secured a private world where she was finally safe to let her guard down. In December 1861, Albert contracted typhoid fever, a lethal bacterial infection caused by contaminated water. He died at just 42 years old. Victoria held his hand at his bedside as her world collapsed. Her mourning became a permanent physical fixture. For the remaining 40 years of her life, she wore exclusively black clothing. She retreated into absolute isolation. Inside her palaces, she demanded that Albert's private rooms remain untouched. Every morning, servants laid out his fresh clothes and brought a basin of hot water for him, exactly as they had when he was alive. Her refusal to attend public ceremonies frustrated the British public. The press labeled her the Widow of Windsor, and political factions began openly debating whether the country even needed to fund a monarchy. The total independence she had seized as an 18-year-old was gone. She had constructed a new, impenetrable fortress for herself, built entirely out of grief. But the state apparatus required a sovereign. The empire was rapidly expanding across Africa, Asia, and the Pacific, and the daily administrative demands of a global superpower could not wait for her to heal. Painfully, she forced herself back to the desk. She resumed reading dense government dispatches, meeting with prime ministers, and navigating highly complex geopolitical crises, doing it all entirely alone. This map shows the staggering scale of her isolated rule. In 1876, she added the title Empress of India to her crown, absorbing direct responsibility for a vast subcontinent. bringing roughly 400 million people under her authority. People remarked the sun never set on the British Empire, a literal geographical fact. Because her territories spanned the globe, daylight always touched at least one border. Her influence permeated European bloodlines. She had 42 grandchildren, strategically marrying them into royal families across the continent, earning the title the Grandmother of Europe. By the time she died in 1901 at age 81, the quiet, horse-drawn world of her childhood was unrecognizable. She left behind a heavily industrialized landscape, dominated by the steam locomotive, the telegraph, and the factory. A massive period of technological and social acceleration was named the Victorian era. At its center stood a woman who survived a heavily manipulated childhood and decades of deep personal loss to carry the heaviest crown in the world entirely on her own terms.